This is the Zoom MS-60B Plus bass guitar multi-effect pedal. I will mostly concentrate on the aspects of this pedal that you can't get unless you physically have it in front of you. If you are after specifications, I'm sure you can find them elsewhere. I also have the previous generation of Zoom pedals here for comparison. This is not the bass version, but it's the same size, exactly the same size as the bass version. So for the size, comparing the size of the new and the old generation, the new one is a little bit longer, just a few millimeters longer. They're the same width, top and bottom. And as for the height, the section with switches is at the same height. I would say the surface is exactly the same. The height of the screen is different. It's more elevated on the new one, which causes one issue that I will explain later. I'll explain why I prefer the position of the screen on the old pedal. The weight is also very similar. It's almost exactly the same. The new one is 356 grams. The old one 354 grams, 55, so it's 1 to 2 grams difference. The construction is metal. It's made of metal. I saw some people saying that it's made of plastic, and I guess they were confused because there's a thick layer of paint, but so you don't feel the cold of the metal when you touch it. But it's definitely metal, even though I think it's a little bit thinner. The metal sheet is a little bit thinner than on the old one. I'm not sure if it's also aluminum like on the old one, but it's pretty sturdy. It will survive anything really. The battery compartment is exactly the same size. The lids are even interchangeable. The one update is that the new one has a ribbon which facilitates the removal of the battery. On the top side we have the same connections as before, power connection and USB connection, with both updated. The USB is now USB-C and the power connection is recessed, which I was a little bit concerned about that. I wasn't sure if the angled jacks like this one would fit, but they actually fit, and the connection is very strong. I even prefer it to the old one. The new switches are great. They're a great update. They're big enough to use with your feet. They have enough travel so that you don't click them accidentally. They're really much better than the old design with these small switches. The main switch is the same size as the old one, which is unfortunate because if you ever try to use these plastic toppers on this generation of Zoom pedals, you know that they don't fit, and they also don't fit on the new one. Too bad. So basically the only complaint I have is the one that I mentioned before with the position of the screen. If you take a look at the old pedal, you see that the screen is a little bit lower, so there's a lot more space between this section and the knobs, and you can easily grab the knobs. You can put your hand in the natural position, and on the new one, because of this angle here, it's impossible really to put your finger all the way down. There's not enough space, and also there's 4 knobs, so naturally the spacing between the knobs is smaller, so because you cannot use your hand like this. I mean, you can, but it's a little bit uncomfortable. You tend to use it like this, so you're using the space between the knobs, which is now smaller. So it's not a big deal, but it's less comfortable than the old one, and I think that could be avoided if the screen was at the same height as on the old one. Maybe that was the reason why Zoom made an editor for, I think for iOS for now, for this pedal. If your fingers are too big to use the knobs, you can use the app instead. But it's too bad because the operating system allows you to edit the effects in full, everything. You can edit everything from the pedal. You don't necessarily need the app. The new screen is exactly the same size as the old one, but the resolution of the screen is now higher. That's something I didn't know before I got a pedal, but I noticed right away when I compare the screens. The pixels are much smaller, the text is crispier, the graphics are better looking, so that's definitely an update. The screen is also brighter than the old one. This is the lowest brightness that I could set. You have normal and bright. This is on normal. So this one is a little bit dimmer, but in real life both are visible. As for the sound, comparing the new and the old generation, they definitely sound different. The effects on the new one are updated, which is visible by the UI and also by the range of the values. For example, I loaded here the same effect, the bass drive on both, which is a sound samp emulation for bass guitar. And if you go into edit mode, on the old one, you had a range, for example, for bass from -10 to 0 to +10, which is like 21 positions. And on the new one, you have from 0 to 100, which is 101 positions. So you can dial sound in more detail. Also, the new one has autosave. I don't know if the old one had that. So as soon as you edit something, you switch presets, whatever you edited is saved. You can turn it off if you don't like it, but by default it's turned on. I think both are capable of dialing great sounds. The old generation was hackable, that's why I have this bass effect, which is not native to the guitar version. They sound different, but you can dial good sound on both. But I prefer the new one because of these small software updates and also the switches. And if you're not into hacking the pedals, the old bass version could chain only 4 effects. The new one can chain 6 effects, so I would definitely recommend getting the new one over the old one if you're thinking about which one to buy. So with that, I will conclude this overview of the Zoom MS-60B Plus. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Cheers!